Do you really read the same book every day?
Without fail.
Will you read some to me? Please?
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me.
That's beautiful.
You like that?
Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
Really?
No. No. No, that was around a long time before you and I got here, that's for sure.
What did you mean when you said it's not just a new book?
It's the only one.
Really?
After the war, people made it their business to find and destroy any that the fires didn't get already. Some people said this was the reason for the war in the first place. Anyway, it's the only one that survived.
How'd you get it?
They said that the war tore a hole in the sky. You probably heard the stories.
Yeah.
Tore a hole in the sky, sun came down, and burned everything. Everything and everybody. You were lucky to hole up and hide in a place like this or underground. Most people weren't lucky. So, a year later, we started coming out, and people wandered around, not knowing what I was going to do, trying to find a place to survive. One day, I heard a voice. It's hard to explain, but it was like it was coming from inside of me. But I could hear it as clear as I could hear you talking to me now.
What did this voice say?
It led me to a place where I found the book, buried under some rubble. The voice told me to carry the book out west. Told me that a path would be laid out for me, that I'd be led to a place where the book was safe. Told me that I'd be protected against anyone or anything that stood in my path. I've been walking ever since.
And you did all that because a voice in your head told you to?
Yes, I did. I know what I heard. I know what I hear. I know I'm not crazy. And I know I would have never made it without help.
What's that?
One question too many. Go to bed. We got an early start in the morning.
You did all of that because of the voice in your head? And he said, well, I know what I heard, I know what I hear, and I know I'm not crazy, and I know I wouldn't have made it this far on my own. And so what you have is kind of what the call of every Christian is. Just think about it. Whatever happened that destroyed the world in that movie, and they were left to just wander around. He said, I didn't know what I was going to do. And he said, in that state, I heard a voice, right? And the voice, that's when he said first place, the voice led me voice started talking, but the voice started sending me to a place. And where he led me, listen, I found this Bible, which is now, right now in this movie, the last Bible, and it was underneath some rubber. And then he said, take this for me and take it over there. And he said these words. I've been walking ever since. Now this is what the Christian life is really about. The essence of the Christian life is meeting Jesus, or listen, hearing that voice that speaks in your soul, that calls you in a different direction, and listen, following him. He said the voice led me. When you look at the movie, the whole movie is about his journey to do what the voice told him to do. So this is what Christ has come into the world to do, is to call people to himself. And not only do they get that unique fellowship and relationship, but there's actually some level of an assignment that we've been given, that he said, I need you to do this for me. Now everybody ain't got to do this, but this is what I want you to do for me. This is that personal revelation and witness that God gets real to you, and then God sends you to go do something on his behalf. And so this brother was living the life, which is why I've always said, that's the Christian journey. How many of y'all were here when we were doing the Pilgrim's Progress? The book. So the Pilgrim's Progress, that same thing. It's like, man, I came to know something. And what I came to know telling me I got to take a journey, and that journey, I can't stay here based on what I've encountered. And so I think tonight we want to look at the Christian life is about following Jesus. But look at what it looks like. It's by faith. He said, I just heard the voice. And the voice had led me to something that keep talking to me, which is, I got this. Like this word that got up in my heart and got real to me, and it has encouraged me to not give up on my assignment, even though I physically have never heard the person that the voice comes from, right? This inclination, this internal witness that is happening. God is leading me by his Spirit and by his word. So just think that's what has to happen for any of us to be awakened, to have some sense of, like, the dials get twisted, and now God get clear for us. Like before it was just shh. But it's like the old school TV where you had to get the knobs right and you turn it just right and the TV get clear. Like, he said, that happened. And now what I'm looking at on the screen is compelling me in a different direction. There's a message being given to me. And so that's the Christian life. So I wrote down the two sections of what happens. He said, one day I heard a voice. And the voice led me to a book. And the voice told me some things, which was one, carry this book with you. The voice essentially said, I got you. Whatever you go through, nothing can stop you. I'm going to protect you. Now just think of what that calls for. I'm actually walking on these roads and I'm meeting all kind of people. But my trust is that as I encounter these different moments of my journey, the person who said that way back there is going to fulfill his promise. I gotta walk believing that the assignment I'm on is, one, not a bump run. Secondly, that he actually gonna do what he said he's gonna do. And it takes, and he gave the witness, which was, I wouldn't have made it this far if he hadn't. This is why I'm still walking. This is why I ain't turned around. This is why I ain't like, oh man, I might have been crazy. Maybe I didn't hear that. It's like, no man, I heard it, and I know I did. And now the stuff he said to me when he talked to me, it's been coming true, man. I've been defeating all kind of, again, he's watching the movie, let you see, and then to not even know until the end that the dude was blind the whole time. That just killed the game. It's like, you did all that you did, I just saw you do all of that in the whole movie, and now I just found out you couldn't even see. He was walking by what he believed. His internal heart was like, man, what I heard, I know it's real, and I'm going to follow that out. So he hears the voice speak to him, and then his response was these words. I heard these phrases. I've been walking ever since. I know what I heard. I know what I hear. Regardless of what the world might think, he says, listen, I know I'm not crazy. He's like, listen, that actually did happen to me. Like, I actually did just get that letter on the water. Like she didn't know what I was feeling on the inside, but that actually happened. Like, I know these are not coincidences. These are not, oh, that's just, mysterious. No, that's God breaking into our world, giving witness of himself, so that we would have some sense of evidence that the voice I'm hearing is actually like he's walking with me on the journey. He ain't just in my imagination way back up the road. He said, I know I wouldn't have made it this far without him. So let's look at this journey tonight for a few minutes. Let's open up with First Peter. First Peter chapter 3. Okay, so First Peter, and let's go chapter 3. We're going to get verse 18. I actually want you to hold your place in Peter. Hold your place where we at. We're going to come right back to verse 18. But just go to John 10 right quick. Let's actually start there. And then we'll go back to Peter. So I think all I really want to focus on tonight is the Christian life is a sum total of following Jesus. Right? That's what the Christian life is really based upon. It is knowing Jesus and then following Jesus. It is growing and knowing him, getting more intimate, getting closer to him, to where he becomes the object of my desire. He becomes the focal point of my life, like getting closer to him. And then his will, as I get close to him, his heart becomes my heart. Now I begin to want to live in this world as he would have me to live. And so that's the rhythm of it, like meeting or hearing, and then now beginning to live and pursue new goals that he gives. So John chapter 10, let's look at verse, let's look at verse number 22. John chapter 10, verse 22. Okay. Somebody wouldn't mind starting to read here for us, please. Actually, I'll go ahead and open it up. It says, at that time, is everybody there? Okay. At that time, the Feast of Dedication took place at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the colonnade of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly. So they said, how long are you going to keep us in suspense? Are you the Messiah or not? Like, are you the one we've been waiting on or not? And Jesus says these words. Jesus answered and said, I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name bear witness about me, but you do not believe because you are not part of my flock. So that's a sharp contrasting word. Like Jesus said, like I've been saying it from the beginning, like but y'all haven't heard because really you haven't been given ears to hear me. You haven't been given eyes to see me in my true essence. You think I'm something else. You don't think I am who I've been telling you I am. And so it's kind of like, again, the TV is still God had turned them knobs and made me get clear in your vision to you like, oh, hold on a second, that's the one we've been waiting on. And check it out, these is church folks. These are Bible people, like they've been reading the Bible, knowing the Messiah was coming, and knowing the type of work the Messiah would do when he got here, and they still confused, because they really don't want to follow, because that means if he come, then all of the stuff we've been using religion to do for us, to put us on the pedestal, we got to get off the throne now. He got to get on the throne, and everybody got to follow him and not follow us alone. Because we've been able to kind of be in the middle place between God and people because the Messiah ain't here. But now, if that's the Messiah, he actually two things. One, he going to interrupt my affairs, my religious prosperity, me being on top. He going to mess that up. And then secondly, he ain't acting like the Messiah I want him to be. Just think about this. Jesus is not going to come into your life and then do what you want him to do. He ain't going to just be like, no, I got my own agenda. Like, you don't invite me in and tell me where to sit. He said, when I come in, you sit down, I start changing the furniture around, move the TV on. The TV on, he's standing in the middle of your life, reach call and everything. Put the TV over there, get rid of the couches, take all that up out of here. You looking There's some sacred stuff in here. Jesus, oh Lord, you can touch that. Wait, can I have these right here though? Like, I don't want them to see this. But he's like, listen, you got to leave everything to me.
Yeah.
Because actually what I came to do is that you might know me and you might follow me, right? That your agenda might be now set by what my heart is, not just, because again, remember, your heart has been leading you to corrupt places anyway. I came to rearrange everything in your life, and so now you have to get in this posture of, one, you got to see me in a big way.
Yeah.
Because if you see me big, like, oh man, like he deserves to call shots. I need him to do, if he got that kind of power, then I actually do need him to take the front seat in my life and begin to change things. And I got to actually say, all right, well, some stuff that I wanted, that God, remember I said a couple weeks ago, I got to be willing to let everything get took off the table. And be like, all right, you rearrange it and put on the table what you want. And that means one of the most difficult things for us is dying to our own ambitions. Yeah. What I think my life should look like, or how I want him to even do with me, with even the gifts I got, like the stuff I got, take me to the top. Like he might, I don't need to take you to the top. I'm gonna take it right over here to the bottom. And I'm gonna use you right there. And listen to this, and tell you all the time, you somebody. And listen, you're not somebody because you're at the top and everybody calling your name, but you are somebody because you're in a relationship with me and I gave you a purpose. And listen to this, this is a major assignment. It don't look like what people think it should look like in the world. It ain't got you ain't on no magazines, you ain't flying around the country. Because listen to this, he said all I have is worldly ambition. Remember, that's what got the enemy in trouble. Because he said, I'm gonna put my throne above God. And that's what God, listen to this. You know what happened to him? Boop. Get up out of here. God, like, I'm the only one that's going to be on top when everybody need me. Just think about, I could just imagine, because see, this is what the enemy offered Jesus when he tempted him before Jesus went into his ministry. Like, man, I give you the whole world. Like, if you bow down. And this thing what stars have. When stars walk through an airport, they feel it kind of like, I'm so important. There's cameras flashing, there's people beside that for hey, little kid, all right, now. Like, you can actually take that and feel like you're so somebody. But listen, you don't even got real love for these people. Like, you ain't finna really do something that, like, you really need them to act like that so you can feel like you somebody. So you actually getting something from people, not really trying to give something to people. But Jesus said, listen to this. That's why when he came down, he didn't look like the Messiah they thought. They thought he was going to be gling, 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 like he down here hanging with the low people, with the prostitutes. Like he down here getting dirty, you know, when they think the Messiah is supposed to be kingly and like exquisite to be getting my pampered and my, you're like, nah, man, I came to reach people. I came to bless people, to get into their hurt and their pain. And so you got to get your eyes off of what you think it's supposed to look like. And so we have to leave God space to change our entire agenda. So he's dealing with this text and he's telling them, y'all don't know who I am because listen, you're not of my flock. You are outsider. So he said, I came from a certain people and they gonna know who I am. So now we in verse number
27 or 26.
26. He said in 26, but you do not believe because you are not a part of my flock. Now notice what that means. Your unbelief is a result of you not being part of my flock, meaning you weren't chosen. So this is part of what the Bible teaches, that God chose him a people before the foundation of the world. So to be brought into God's kingdom, to have the TV antennas sharpened so you can see God, that's a gift. That's not somebody, I got smart enough to see it now. Like, it's like, no, God has broken into my life to open my eyes, and he has given me the gracious gift of being able to see who Christ is and not be like, baby, I can't do this to him no more. It's kind of like, wait a minute. And so that right there is God at work in our hearts, drawing us close so that we might know him, and in knowing him, we might follow him. So he goes on and he says this, verse 27, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. See, that's what happened if we take the context of the movie. He said, I can't even explain it. Yeah. It was like a voice was coming from inside of me, but it was like, I know I heard it though. It was like a conversation was happening, but it was just me and I don't know who was there, but I heard the voice. I know what was said in my heart, And it kind of was like, as I started walking with this internal conversation going on, stuff outside of my life started matching up. It's kind of like, man, I'm seeing his handprints now. I'm seeing him I'm encountering him and other people talking, and now people who talk about him, I'm listening, and the conversation is really happening. It's like, man, you know him too. It's like, you heard the voice. It's a crazy scenario, but this is how God begins to get real. He says, my sheep, they know my voice, and look at the next step, and they follow me. It's the voice. I'm being led by the voice. And then he said, look what I do. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. Now remember, that's what he heard. He said, basically, he said, I'm with you. Like, no challenge you can get in that, you know, you're going to be defeated in. Like, listen, I'm going to fight these battles with you. All I need you to do is have enough faith to walk. Just keep going. Like, go from here to where I told you to go, knowing that I'm with you every step of the way. And then he goes on and he says this. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. And look, no one will ever snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and the Father are one. So what does that say to us as believers? What word rises up in your heart when you hear that? That should give us what?
Confidence?
Confidence.
Yeah.
It's not on me being so good at my walk, right? That I'm going to be able to escape all of the plots and plans of the enemy. I'm going to be able to avoid every temptation and all of that. No, my hope is in He going to keep His word. I'm you in my hands, and listen, nobody can snatch you out. I mean, I ain't giving you back. I ain't giving you away like when I play for keeps. I ain't Indian. I ain't taking it back. Like my promise for you is settled, and I am going to carry you from here all the way to the end of the journey. Like, that's a guarantee. And see, that's what you can base your hope on. And what God does is, along the way, He begins to give you evidence that that was true. Yeah. You begin to see it. He is with me. There'd be moments when I felt like, man, maybe that wasn't true. And see, this is part of the Christian journey, to get into moments to where I kind of second guess or question a little bit. Like, you know, not that is it all real, but is God paying attention right now? And it'd be them moments that God get real. And I think you encountered that specifically. Like, I'm in a struggling moment and God do something that could be so small and random, but it's exactly what you need to be like, hold on a second, God.
I actually needed a moment to stop because I was walking up the elevator through Barton. I just had to stop and just take that moment in.
Like, this
is
so
small, but like it was big.
It was. And they had no idea. So he's kind of talking a little bit about the story of what happened for him on the bar today. Had a struggling moment and just kind of like, man, I'm fighting to hold on to what I'm learning about God. And I feel like I can't grab it tight enough, but somebody give him a note on the bar about, I see you reading the word, and you look like this guy in the Bible named Boaz, who was a man of integrity. And it's just kind of like, well, y'all didn't know me.
It's actually what her daughter said. Her daughter said, that's Boaz.
So now he got an assignment. He want to find out who is Boaz. Like, God, like, I'm going to help you read the word. Like, you're going to have a purpose now when you read it, because somebody who don't know you saw something on you that connect in the word, and now this is how God begins to draw us. And those moments is not coincidences. It was real moments of God saying, look, I'm with you. Like, I'm actually, while you fighting to stay close to me, I'm fighting to stay close to you. I want you to know who I am. And so Jesus said, my sheep know my voice, and they follow me, and I give them promises.
And that's how the word gets, you know, real.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a book,
Right.
Like, because there's so much stuff in the Bible that, you know, is like, it's everyday living. So, you know, it does get real when you know, when you get to read stories of Boaz and just, you know, so many different stories in the Bible. It's real.
It connects.
Yeah.
Now I just want to add to that, like, it's so important, man. I mean, it's critical when God does break in and like, I know for a long time, you know, I claim to believe in God, but just reading the Bible was like the stories in the Bible. You know, I used to read Bible, so it was fun when I was a kid and stuff like that. Learned about different characters in the Bible and stuff, but as I got older, it kind of got away from, you know, like it didn't have that attraction, like you said, it wasn't like everyday life, or it didn't make that connection until God got real in my life, and then I was able to go to the Word, and then that's when His Word got real to me.
Because he was able to now understand the message, right? These are not just stories. The message of the whole Bible is Christ has come into the world to get close to you, to bring you close to God, like to unite heaven and earth will come back together. And so when you start seeing, that's all, when these cats were in slavery and God come to rescue them, all that is the story. That's the story of God coming to where they at, bringing them out of that and having them follow him. Like, that is the repetitive story. That's Apostle Paul. I was doing this, I saw Jesus, I left all that, I started going like that. Is the recurring story. That's the story of my life. I was doing me, I met him, now I'm trying to do him. Like, that is the theme. And so it is spoken of in so many different ways that begins to give us, it's like, this is the place of encouragement, right? This is the place where my story is connected with multiple stories, and really all of this is his story. And now I'm living this out, and now this is my playbook. Like, this is where I go for strength. This is where I go to be reminded that when cats get stuck and lost, and I feel like somebody, like God ain't with them, like he'll show up and he gives me, like, I'm gonna have confidence. Even though I'm still walking in a situation right now that ain't fixing it. But I know God is with me.
Yeah, Sean just made me think about my childhood when my mom used to have us, Lord, she used to have us read the Bible all the time, every day. And we're like, we don't understand it. Like, why are we reading Proverbs? But it's just, I think just now that I'm an adult, just looking back, with us reading Psalms and Proverbs, that kind of just stuck with me. And that's what I read. That's what I try to read daily, as just like a daily word is Proverbs. And you never really understand it because it didn't make sense back then, but it makes sense now. And I think that's why your relationship with God is important, is because he speaks to you, you know, through the word. And it don't make sense, but it's kind of like a good book that you gotta keep, you know. Well, what else happened? What else? And that's why I recommend too getting a good Bible, like getting a Bible specifically, you know, for you that has footnotes and stuff that you can kind of, okay, well, what does this mean? You know, like a study Bible. Those work great, but just kind of that brought back memories.
But spending time in the book is so key, because sometimes you are spending time in the book for later. Right? It's like, I don't know. But see, this is what God does. Many times, and we can't see it because we in our side of it. But if you step out of it from God's side, he'll send you to some stuff and have you hear about something or want to read something. And what he's doing is he's preparing you for some stuff up the road. Because remember, he sees our whole journey. So he's like, I'm talking to you, and you kind of get it, but you don't get it, right? You can't get a clear image, but now I'm going to send you through something, because what I want to do is confirm my word in your heart. Now you, like, this situation reminds you of that, and now you're like, I got it. And isn't it, that's personal. You actually, as if a light bulb came on, and you got a smile on your face, and something is happening, and people are like, what's going on? But it's the internal witnesses happening, like I am seeing clearly what I was trying to get an understanding of, and what God has now just done through this situation is giving me revelation. And now God, like, again, so that gives me more confidence to keep walking, because now God ain't just way back there. He's still with me in the journey.
I ain't gonna say nothing else.
No, say anything you need to say.
But it's funny you say that too, because a friend of mine, we haven't really been close, but she had texted me this morning, was just like, you know, we haven't been close, we haven't talked, but you're the only friend that I have that would encourage me, and you know that I know that'll pray for me. And it was funny because God knew I don't do her, so it's just it was so weird. Like, I didn't think about any of that. I just thought about her being in need, and God using me to be able to speak and encourage, you know, her. But it was just funny that the same situation that she's going through, I just kind of, I'm still in it, but I just kind of came through it. And it was so many these scriptures that started popping up, but it didn't pop up like, you know, John, you know, 4 or whatever. It was just like, what it said. And I highlighted it in my highlights. And so I was just able to go and look through my highlights, you know, and be able to send it to her. But I don't know, it's just amazing how he'll put scriptures and stuff like, you know, you don't necessarily need them at that moment, but I think it's just moments like this morning.
They on your hard drive.
Yeah.
Stored away with understanding.
Right.
I know what this means. Like God, He gave me this. And we're in the car talking about this word they call a rhema word. Like it is a right now word. I was in a situation, God spoke this word to me, and this word came alive to me to where it was not just in the book, but it was in my life. And now I get what God is saying out of that.
Right.
And now that gets stored away, and it's in my files. And there's moments where others need it, there's moments when I need it again. And I'm able to recall, I ain't got to search all through the Bible, I don't even know the address of it. I know what that word is. Remember what God said.
Especially like right after, like I said, when I took that stop, I'm looking at all the people going about their business, and in my head I'm saying like, God just spoke to me. Like all these people probably going to work, going to the store, going about their business, and they don't know this guy right here. I really felt like he spoke to me.
Real time. See, that's what God does, man. Just think what you are experiencing is heaven and earth are in communication. It's almost like a light from heaven is shining down right on top of you, right? Like this is the communication. Like heaven has noticed you. Heaven is paying attention and moving in your story. And this is what God has to do first. He has to make this personal. See, we're able to come in here and begin to talk because we've all had some of our personal encounters. We don't walk with each other every day, every second, but we are walking with God, and when we come here and talk about Him, some of the stuff we talk about is like, yeah, me too. And like, man, like she just, like Sean said something, she was like, man, it made me think about like heaven is like breaking into our worlds, and so this book becomes a prized possession.
I actually have, but it's just kind of funny. He made me laugh one day because I was driving down the freeway and some guy just kind of irritated me by what he did. And I had that song, something about the name Jesus in that song, and I was like singing my heart out. And the guy just made me so mad. And I was ready to just like say something to him. I looked over at him, and in that second, I was singing those words, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's not a nice thing to say. He stopped me right in my tracks. Like, that's not it. Don't go that route.
That's big. I think you said something about it, but I think, and you just said something about it, but what it is it makes me stop doing me. And now I have a desire to do Him. See, that's what it said. He comes, like my sheep hear my voice, and they follow me. Like I begin to speak them into new attitudes, new appetites, new way of living, because now what I really want by them knowing me is that now my heart begins to become their heart. And now they fight against, and one of the things we have to recognize is that we who are following Him are not perfect. We follow the perfect one. He's trying to help us become more like Him. That's what the journey is. So listen, I can actually take a big sigh of relief and expected perfection out of me. He expected me to just follow Him. And knowing when I try to spin off, He coming to get me. and He gonna put me back on the trail, because it's like, nah, man, you following me. Your life is no longer your own, right? Like I've actually given up my life so that your life now becomes my life, and we got a different agenda. That's why I say take the TV out, move the couches, like I'm calling the shots. Listen, in your life now. And so now it's this repetitive nature of hearing His voice and being brought to love that voice, because that's part of what God does when He makes us, when He goes silent on us. Because then it's like, please tell me anything to do right now. Like I feel alone. I feel like I can't. You know what I'm saying? Like it helps us desire. So now when He start talking, there's a different attention span, because it's like, man, it's dark without you. Like, so that's, God is in this training phase of bringing us to know who He is in an intimate way, not in a head knowledge way. I'm not just thinking about God in this theory, like God and got real with me to make me, listen to this, turn my back on a whole lot of stuff. Give up a whole, like, to have a route that's kind of like, man, I never would have went this way. I wasn't thinking this, like this wasn't my plan, but to now be taking a walk with Him and let Him lead my life, and actually now being brought to find joy in the journey he's given me. And listen, he keep talking, which is why I can't get too deep into what it looked like right now. It's kind of like, no, this is good. Thank you, Lord. Like, this is where my life is supposed to be. And so without him talking, then it's just a theory. It's just, and it ain't gonna ever listen. It ain't gonna ever satisfy us. Like, if he just told me and then let me keep walking, I'd have been stopped a long time ago. The dude in the movie would have gave up on the journey. This is too much. These cats trying to kill me over this book. Somebody, I'm gonna hide this book back under something and then I'm out of here. But the intimate conversation was, man, I gotta finish this assignment. Come hell or high water, even if it costs me, listen, even if it costs me my life. This is all I want to do now, is make it to the destination he told me to get to. And really, he was so focused on the journey in the middle. Because I've gotten to know him and I've gotten to see him confirm his word to me. He has made me realize what I heard way back there was so true. That God was so real, that he has not failed none of the stuff he said he was going to do. I've experienced it, right? Like, that is what God keeps his promises. So he said, my sheep know my voice and they will follow me. So let's go back to that 1 Peter passage right there. And let's get what Jesus' actual assignment was. Peter chapter 3, verse 18. Somebody to read that for us, please.
18?
Yeah.
Christ suffered for our sins once for all time. He never sinned, but he died for sinners to bring you safely home to God. He suffered physical death, but he was raised to life to the Spirit.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So, first of all, we get Jesus in his journey. His mission was to suffer on our behalf. He paid for our sins. He died a criminal's death. He died a sinner's death, even though he was innocent. He was actually switching places with us. And then he said, I did all of that so that I love the way your version says, bring you safely home to God. This is my journey. This is my assignment, is to come get you. You trapped under the rubble of the Twin Towers, all kind of stuff that fell on you. My job, says Christ, was to come down up in here and get you. I'm risking everything, and I'm going to safely bring you out of this into a safe spot. I'm going to do this, and look at how I do it. I do it with words. I do it with speaking to you. I do it with opening up this book and making you understand that my whole mission, my love for you is real. He says, my job is to bring you to God. And that's how this version reads. It says that Christ suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, so that he might bring us to God. This is a rescue mission. Remember what the guy in the movie said, I was just wandering around, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Now that we can come outside now, I don't know what to do. And he said, I heard a voice. And that voice began to lead me in a certain direction and give me assignment. So Christ's job is to bring us, now that's what this is, follow me. I came to get you, now come on, let me get you home. That's the mission. You don't know where home is, you don't know how to get there, you don't know where you're stuck at, but I'm going to walk you out of this scenario, and now it is incumbent upon you to follow me. Okay, so now let's begin this journey of what following looks like. Let's go one more scripture right quick. Get some more content, then we'll go to the follow. So go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5 right quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. So his job is so that he would bring us to God, bring us safely home to God. So that means your whole life. I came to be with you in life. And so that when it's time for you to leave this life, I'm going to cross you over to the other side so that you would be with God. I'm going to bring you to my Father. Like, that's the mission. That's almost the same picture of Jesus with the disciples. And they on this side of the water. And they say, man, let's go to the other side. And throughout the middle of this journey, it's going to be storms and rain and all of that stuff going to happen. But listen to this. We get to the other side. Yeah. I ain't going to leave you. I ain't, my word ain't going to fail. And so you got to trust me. And so his job, he going to do his part. And so I think what partly for us to do, and I think you talked about it before, is when people are drowning, The people who need to rescue them, on one level, they can't jump in and rescue them when they doing this, trying to swim. But it's like we both go, because I can't grab you, and then so it's like you gotta, listen to this, you gotta give up. So then I can come in and get you. And so that's partly what the meeting Christ does, is to make me understand I can't make it without you. And now I rest in the one who's talking to me, and now I'm gaining confidence. Think about this. God wants us to gain confidence in him. He knows we don't have full confidence. He know out the gate, like, you don't even really know. Like, this is crazy that I'm talking to you on the inside. And I'm saying that I'm in heaven and I got all your security is in me, but you can't really see me. You can't see it before it happened. You got to actually have faith. And he's saying, listen, I want you to gain confidence. So life is a classroom.
Yeah.
So that our confidence is built. So it's like you have to move from, this is why he says he wants us to go from faith to faith. Like he is managing what our faith looks like, right? Like I want the trust in me to be deeper, and so what he allows is situations to come into our lives. But his whole thing is never focused on the situation. He's looking at how we handle the situation. That's what his eyes is on. I want to see your heart, because I've spoken some things to you that will hold you in the midst of that storm. But I'm trying to grow that. Like, so the storm is just a consequence of the test that I need to put you to, because I want to see, do you believe what I said? Remember we read that scripture in, it was Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3 said, I led you through the wilderness these 40 years to humble you and test you to see will you follow me or not. I put you through all of this stuff. Listen, he said, I made you hungry, then I fed you. Feeding you wasn't no problem. But I wanted to see what happened when you get hungry. I wanted to see how you act when it ain't going your way. Because I'm trying to see, do you trust me? Do you believe me? And so God says, all of the wilderness, again, this middle journey, I got you out of Egypt. We going into the promised land. Everything in the middle is to see, do you believe what I told you over here? I told you I got you. And so these moments, and so this is why we need to get the word in us. Yeah. Because that's what's going to hold us in the midst of the storm. Like, because this is what it is. But God said, right? Like, I got to go back to what he said. See, I got to keep replaying the tapes as I'm dealing with my natural life. I got to keep communicating with heaven so that he can speak me through these difficulties. But if I just stare at the difficulties, try to figure them out, or just wishing they go away, they're going to get bigger. Remember when them cats went in to spy out the promised land? God said, listen, go in there and take a peek at it. It's yours. This is a good land. It got big grapes. Actually, bring some of the grapes back. And them 12 cats went in. Listen, 2 of them came back and said, man, it's on. Let's go get it. 10 of them came back and said, you know what? It's actually giants over there. And them cats, they so big, we look like little grasshoppers. We can't get it. I don't want to go over there and fight for it, but listen to this. God said, I told you, I'm going to give it to you. But you got to trust me. You can't let what you see be more determinative than what I've seen. See, that's why he says we walk by faith, not by sight. I got to live here. I live in the reality of God's promises. He has promised me no weapon formed against me will prosper. And now I get in my life, and it's all kind of weapons loaded and pointed at me. Am I going to believe the weapons that I'm facing, or am I going to believe the report from heaven that tells me all of that ain't going to be able to stop me? So when we get tested, it's tough. And listen to this, God ain't going to let you get out of that. If you try to, I'm going to get you 1 second. If you try to run from the weapons, he'll get more weapons. It's stacked. Everywhere you look, weapons go get to where eventually God said, you're going to have to trust me because you are mine. You got to learn this. Or else you can't make the journey. Right? So I got to grow you up so you can be confident in me in a stronger way so you can keep on walking from the challenge.
So, and I hope this don't take us off of, but I would like to just like talk about how important or how critical it is to understand that the first two commandments of God that we should do as followers of Christ, which is to love God first, right? And then love God's people as you would love yourself, right? So because I don't understand, like we talking about these internal battles and stuff like that, but again, the classroom is for me is always bringing me back to, you know what, if I'm gonna follow this faith, if I'm gonna live this faith out, I gotta love God first. Yeah. And if I love God first, then what's so tough is loving other people. Like so those are what the trials and it might be me. It might be me where the root of the issue is really at, but it's causing the toughness outside because this, you know, again, these are the battles that I'm facing every day, and I don't see God's love in those things. You know what I'm saying? But I still have to live by faith to love God first, and then to love His people. See, because if I can do that, then I possibly it's not so tough.
Yeah. Which is why this first thing is so key, right? That God comes to us, right? Because see, in order for you to love God back and love anybody else, you gotta really experience God's love towards you, right? And as you experience His faithfulness, and not just you get one dose and that dose carries you all the way, but it's this repetitive moments of I'm in tough spots. I don't even know if the word is working right now. Is God paying attention? Did God come through? This is immediately what happens in my heart as I see Him in my situation afresh. Love for Him comes, and listen to this. I ain't got no problem with nobody right now. Right? It's those encounters, and the more I get filled with confidence in God, because see, sometimes I got issues with other people because I'm getting stressed out about my stuff. I don't feel like hearing all that. I ain't got time for all that. Like what you encountered on the phone is somebody that you don't do because you was filled with God and what she going through. God just got me out of that. Like God been dealing with me on that. I got scriptures on that. And so now my love for the God who met me in that situation that you talking about make me who I really don't do you, but I want to do Him right now. And now listen what I'm giving that person. I'm giving Him God. See, what God gave me Himself in that situation. And now what I want her to have right now is not an argument with me. I want her to have what I had in that moment, which is God's word. And so this is how God, listen to this, works that into us. He don't stand back and command you. Love me, love people, go about it. He says, no, you got to get to know me. Yeah. And when you get to know me, you're going to fall in love with the one who is in love with you in this desperate way. And when that love happens, your heart changes. Yeah. And it's like, how can I be getting all this and give people something different than what I'm getting? Now I got to see, now he changes my heart, and now I want you to experience what I'm experiencing. So now I'm working with new motivations, and so those things begin to happen.
Man, thank you for that, man, because that's what I'm experiencing, that's what I'm learning. And I actually got and we was talking about it and just going through the seasons and stuff, but the season of grumbling and complaining for me, I thought it was a season of ordinary, but I guess in a season of ordinary, I start grumbling and complaining even when I don't think I'm grumbling and complaining. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not coming through my mouth, I'm not speaking it, right? It's the feeling, man. It's the feeling, you know what I'm saying? And I have to be aware of that. Yep. I have to be aware of that because I'm starting to understand that for me to have confidence, for me to have faith in God means that I need to understand that He's already taken care of what needs to be taken care of. He's taking care of what needs to be taken care of. And He's going to take care of, or it's already taken care of in the future what needs to be taken care of. Yeah. That's what my faith needs to look like. Yeah. So that I don't grumble and complain, so that I can love God first, and so that I can love other people.
Because you're free at that moment, right? It's really like, I was going to stretch out and lay on this table, but it's you are resting on the promises of God. And when you rest, and that actually happens, like your soul leans on God who is with you, listen to this, you're a little more carefree. Now I got time for people now. I got time to deal with that. But when I'm dealing with my issue, I don't even want to hear about yours right now. I ain't got time to talk about all that. You know, I'm short with you with my words. I'm not trying to really listen and be a blessing to you, like give you ears. Like I'm listening, but I'm thinking about what I gotta call him tomorrow. You telling me your whole life story, and you want me to be present, but I can't be present because I'm in my situation. But when God set me free from my issues, now I got a release to where, listen to this, I go out in that freedom, I go out in that lightness, right? My heaviness is taken off.
The same stuff.
My situation ain't changed. All I did is I looked at God and got clear again. He with me in this, and now I'm able to, like I was saying about my life, God is able to make me happy on a journey that wasn't my journey.
And I can love people who don't know how to love or don't want to love.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
And you don't need them to love you back in a way because you're not deficient.
Amen.
Right.
When you full of God's love. Because see, most times, just think about this. I was given the image of a superstar walking through the airport, and you keep a man right now, you got, you know what I'm saying, autographs, people want it. But then once he ain't hot no more, he feel bad. He walked through the airport, don't nobody notice him, he's steady, he all in the, you know what I'm saying? Because again, it's like, I need you to want me, right? I actually need something from you, but when you come into the situation, clear on your identity, and now you could be free whether or not, because I know really at the end of the day, it ain't all about me. Because it ain't all about me, only because I know God got me.
Right.
And since he got me, like I can be free to, listen to this, what I'm able to do is, I'm able to come outside and play. Right? I can come outside and play, but see, when I'm always like in the house with my children, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't enjoy outside because I got to deal with my stuff. But when my stuff is handled, I'm able to go outside, man, and enjoy everybody and, you know, be free and have a good time. Like, there's been moments where, and I'm sure you guys have experienced it before, you went to somebody's thing, you really didn't want to go because you had stuff going on, but because we in a relationship where I don't want to hear your mouth if I don't show up, so I come, but I really ain't there. Right? I'm there, but I ain't really there. Like, I'm just here really trying to show my face, and I'm going to be out of here as soon as I can. But there's been other moments where you come in, you free, you ain't thinking about you enjoying everybody. I didn't even know you meet people like you just. So again, I think God wants us to be like that in life. Because listen, with people need him. And listen, God says, y'all know me. But you so stuck on your situation and distracted, you can't go out and live me and show me to the world so that other people might have a sense of hope because you bogged down trying to deal with your situation. Listen to this. You Cinderella at the house right now. You ain't even at the ball dancing, man. Like, you need to be like, come on out. I done came to set you free. Go out and enjoy and be. And so that's a liberty that God wants to give us.
That kind of brought me back to this morning too. Just thinking about, you know, because I don't know, just being, you know, stuck in myself. You know, a part of me wanted to not really want to talk to her, but it was funny because even after the conversation, I just had the image of that, what's that movie, Fireproof? When he was going through all these challenges and he was in like the woods or something with his father, and I really love that movie for that particular moment. He was talking about how, you know, he should, why his wife isn't, basically he had marital issues and he was trying to win his wife back, but she wasn't trying to hear him. But he was just super complaining about how he's been doing all this stuff. He's been showing that he's been committed, but, you know, she's not budging. And his father, you know, leaned against a cross, and it was just crazy that a cross was just out there. And he was just like, you know, well, how do you think God feels? How do you think, you know, Jesus feels that, you know, that he constantly, you know, saves us and shows his grace and mercy, gives it to us, but we can't show it to others. And it made me think, you know, just this morning, like, okay, I'm sitting here feeling some type of way about her, but and can't forgive her, but how many times have God forgave me and shouldn't have at all, like completely. And it just kind of made me get out of, you know, deuces on her, like I'm not tripping on her, but just even having the spirit to even get out of that, because I'm just that type of person. If I don't do you, I don't do you.
Right.
Like it ain't no playing.
Right. We come cool.
I'm cool, but it's funny how God uses situations like that because he already know. Like he already know how, man. So it's just funny that he uses situations like that shows me. Yeah, you feel that way, but guess who's in charge?
Right.
Because this don't have nothing to do with you right now. And I'm gonna show you yourself at the same time.
Right. You're gonna see that you didn't want to.
Right.
And then I'm gonna have you feeling good that you did.
Exactly.
And I talked you into it. Like you're gonna come out
Right.
feeling joy. Like that's our guy. He's a great teacher. He's a great teacher. He don't waste no moments. There are no coincidental moments. There's no throwaway moments.
Right.
All of that stuff has a purpose. I saw your hand too.
I want to congratulate you on that because that's big.
Yeah.
Because about 2 weeks ago, I think I was in the same situation. Somebody I grew up with, we not really cool no more. And he asked me what I was doing just randomly out the blue. Told him I was going to Bible study. And he said, pray for me. And after he said that, I was like, pray for you? When was the last time I heard from you? You talking about pray for you? So just the way you handled that, I guess, is the way I was supposed to handle it.
But it wasn't me. Like
Exactly.
it wasn't me because, like I said, look. Why are you even hitting my phone right now? But it had nothing. It just worked out because it wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't me. But I think just God puts that on my heart because even in that moment before, I don't do you.
Yeah. And I felt like I was finna tell you that.
Right. But just what you said spoke to what I just went through. So I think it'll just be just retarded of me to not even share that. Right. But like I said, God got his hand all over that because who would have known? Like, come
Because look what she actually wanted. She wanted God. She didn't even really want you, right? But she remembered this is the person who will encourage me and pray for me. So if I'm going to get close to God, I need to go to somebody who's closer than me.
Wow.
And so you had to be available. And so I just think even that is a witness for you to remember the scenario where you didn't make it, right? You know what I'm saying? Now you hear testimony and then you kind of tasted it today. I was going to do what I was going to do, but I felt something hold me back. And so it's like, that's where I want to take you, says God, right? Like God says, I'm just jumping into your story and I'm going to rewrite how you handle things. Yeah. But I'm never going to take away your natural impulse. So I got to let you always see this is still who you is. Now let me take over. And then you come out happy. Like I had one of the biggest challenges in my life early in my journey, man. I think I shared before that. So me and my wife, when I was in school, she was just my girl, and we had already had a baby, my oldest daughter and whatnot, and I was doing me, and a whole bunch of other girls. She was doing her thing. And so what happened was, I was kind of trying to keep all of it together. I still got my girl, my baby mama, and she don't know what I'm doing up here, but she came and surprised me one time. And it was all bad. I couldn't hide it. I couldn't. And when people came, it was just like. And so she came back, kind of like, "Well, I'm cool too. Then says you doing you, I'm gonna do me." So there was a moment I came back, festival on the lake, and so we drove back, and so I'm coming to see my daughter, and hang out with Shell for a minute, and a dude come through. And I go to the door. I'm like, you gotta come back, bud. I'm here, man. When I go back to school, you come by, you know what I'm saying? And he said, nigga, I'll kill you. And I'm like, I'll be yelling at the door, she at the door trying to hold me back. I'm like, no, let him go. I'm like, and then he leave, and so me and him is marked enemies now. Like, it's not cool at all. I go back to school and I'm vowing I'm finna go even harder now up here. I'm like, I'm through with all that, she can do whatever, blah, blah, blah. We got a daughter together and all of that. But then I come back, Lord come to me, wake me up and be like, man, you've been trying to write your own story. I already got the story written, man. So you gotta listen to this. All that huffing and puffing you did, you gotta come out of all of that and humble yourself and get back into and so now here I am, working it out with Shell, and it's already, I got images in my mind of what was happening, right? So I want to throw up all the time, like, and dude is her friend, like dang cool, you're hanging out, but like, got a real relationship, and he couldn't really read, and so she was helping him read, and one day they was having a conversation, and he was like, man, I've been trying to get with the Lord, but I've been going to churches, and they just want money, and I just don't know who to talk to. And she said, you need to talk to Larry. And so she set up a phone call, and he, called me. And back then I had a beeper. He paged me, and I hit him back. And initially, once I heard it was him, it was kind of like, what you want? You know what I'm saying? But it was like, man, your show was telling me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, man, let's meet. And that was one of the hardest things. So me and this cat went to Denny's, and we wound up hanging out for about 3 hours. Like, I started telling my journey, what happened, we started reading scriptures, the Bible thing, and it just, like, God met us, but it was one of the toughest meetings. Like, what am I going to say to this dude? Like, this dude is, like, this is bad, but look what happened. This dude wound up becoming, like, his wife, or his girl at the time, they got married, wound up moving in with us for a minute as they was trying to get on their feet. And so then his kids became my god kids, and we've been traveling back and forth. I go to Texas and see them, and they come out here. So it's just like God took what was humanly like, this ain't ever gonna be cool. Right. And God made it a God thing. They came to the church. Like, all of that happened, but it was God boss moved me. You ain't finna do you right now. Look, listen, you known for me now. How you gonna now be known for me, and then somebody need me, and you gonna be like, I can't do it. So God put us in the moments to make, listen to this, to, as that scripture said, to test us, to humble us, to see, will you follow me? No complaint. Like, this ain't what you want to do, but God said, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And your life is no longer yours. Your life is about me. And so you got to actually give up. Because I'm in here changing the furniture, inviting him in. And I'm like, not him. God, like, bring him into the house and let him listen to this in your life. And you care for him as if, like, I actually gained a brother out of that. And we could never have seen from here that we would be here. Unless Jesus got in the middle, and look what he did. Amen. So he doesn't just do that with us and God, like, we way over here, God way over there, Jesus stand between us and bring us together. And then he does the same thing in our broken relationships, stuff that we be like, it'll be easier to be like, could have been easier to be like, I'm gonna get a new girl. Like, I ain't going through all the pain I got to go through with Shell, that we can overcome the past and now move into a future. But God was like, you can't rewrite your story. You're going to have heartache everywhere else you go unless you bow down and accept, this is my will. This is my story. Now go, dry your eyes and get on back in there. You don't get to turn, listen, God won't let us punk out. Like, that take real courage to face these dark things, to face even some of the stuff that I had a cause to make it be as hurtful as it was. Now I gotta not only face you, but I gotta face me. And now the ugliness of all that happened, and like, God, but listen, he overcame all of that. But not overnight. Right. As we kept walking and God got bigger in the story, he began to, this is what he does. He alleviates the pain. Listen, the scar is still there. I'll never forget all of that stuff that happened and where we came from and how God united us, but the pain of it is gone. He replaces it with deep joy, but it's only as you go through it. So when we think back about them cats who pumped out and went into the promised land because they wouldn't lean on God's promise. But the other two cats who did, when they got in, God promised that they was going to get a certain territory, like a certain land area was going to be theirs. And so just think, all of the difficulties they had in fighting for the promises of God, at some season they was able to relax in. Listen, all that they fought for. You are fighting for your joy in God. You are fighting for your closeness in God. When you think about what you did, you had a hard morning, you start trying to read the Bible. Right? You was fighting for your joy. Like, I ain't gonna let my hard morning take me away from him. Like, God is still real. Like, I'm looking for you, God. And look, even though you couldn't really get it, God said, but here I am.
I knew I wasn't supposed to stay in that.
Right. You was fighting. And look what God touches a little baby, a little young girl, to tell mama he looked like this thing. And so God is like, as you fight for me, I'm fighting for you. Because listen, I want us to be close. And so just those moments, just think about it. That was a big moment.
And the part I never got to tell you, Larry, was I told you a little bit about my stepdad and everything he did growing up. So I kind of was always feared him. And just fearing saying what I had to say. And today was the first time it was just like, what you want to do. And when I did that, it was like he backed down from me. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I feel like I ain't gotta worry about it no more.
That's, cause see, just think, I mean, that's big, because I'm thinking about the sermon series we in, and I had a couple images I was thinking about as I was preparing for the sermon. And so one of it is that God does something with us when he begins to change us. And I think you sent a while back this photo of a little kitten who was in the mirror, but in the mirror it looked like a lion, but it was actually a kitten. And it was kind of like, this is what you look like when you believe in Christ. Like, even though you small, looking through the eyes of Christ, you're really big. Like, you see yourself differently than what you are. And so I remember when I was going through the process of working out for the teams and trying to get drafted, and it was in the midst of God calling me. I lived on 82nd Avenue for a minute. My agent had a house over there, so we would stand over there. And so we was kind of in the party phase, people coming through, cats were smoking, all of that. And so it was a dude next door that used to always like tell us, man, cut out all that noise. He'll come bang on my windows. Like, he was an older dude, but he was like, he felt like he was a boss. Like, it was kind of like, man, cut the music, that blood coming back. It was like, we didn't really want to deal with him because he was like one of those overly loud, aggressive kind of talkers. And then, so I got saved. And I already moved out of the house football. I was walking away from that. And I just came over there one day. I was driving through the neighborhood and I was going to the house, and I knocked on the door to see, because the dude had, my agent had somebody who was like the housekeeper. It was like one of his extra houses. He had a dude that stayed there, and he would have different players when he was working out for team would stay there. So I went to say what's up to the dude that was like the housekeeper, and he wasn't there. And then I saw the dude that used to bang on the door sitting kind of in his garage. And I walked over here, and I was like just walking over there like happy, because I went to tell the dude I'm with the Lord now, and he ain't here, so I'm gonna tell you. And I go over there, and he's sitting in the garage, and when I walk up, he's like, man, don't hurt me. And I'm like, I ain't coming to hurt you, I'm just coming to say what's up. But it was like, it was different. Before he was the band, and we was doing this to him, and now I'm coming in with just joy, though, and I can't wait to tell him, like, man, I went to Lil Wayne, so I ain't spoken no more, all of that. And then he kind of like, man, don't hurt me. And it was kind of, but listen to this. I just believe God made him see me different. It was still me, and I was just coming in genuine love, but he saw me. I might have looked like a giant walking in. I don't know what was glowing, but I could see genuine fear on his face, and I was kind of like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm just coming to say what's up to you.
The same look I had on my face today.
That like
what's wrong, dude? I thought you was this big bad dude, so when if I step up to you, we're gonna have to, service like grown men.
Yeah.
And like you said, God probably made you look like something different to him.
Because your heart was speaking, right? Years of holding on and biting my tongue, and again, you don't even know what it looked like, right? Your facial expression, and like, but really what was your heart. See, that's what the Bible talks about, our countenance. Our countenance, those who walk in righteousness have a radiant countenance, right? When you are right with God, there's a joy and an ease that's on your face. There's a smile that's just natural. It's oozing. You ain't trying to smile. You ain't posing. It's just, this is how I feel in here, and it's showing on my face. I can't even hold this back. I can't stop smiling. I can't like do this and make my eyes go away. It's like, man, I'm happy in my soul, and that radiates, man. And so I just think God has a way of transforming us, because what he really wants to do in this world through us is show himself.
Yeah.
He wants us to be full of confidence, full of joy, full of faith, so that we go out in this world that is filled with cares, but we carefree.
Yeah.
I got challenges, I got issues, I got stuff that need to be fixed, but I ain't carrying that around, I'm carrying him. Like, I got him on board, so I'm not meditating on my stuff. I'm meditating on the king who has my stuff in control, and eventually he's gonna get to it. It ain't gonna, listen, I know he got the final say-so over that.
Yeah.
But if I keep looking at that, I'm acting as if I can either fix it, or eventually it's gonna go away. I don't fight it this way, I fight it here. I fight it here. I fight it here. Like, that's how I fight, to be able now to get different. So when I look back at this, it's a different, I'm looking with confidence now. I'm looking like this might get changed like that, because I know who is with me, man. And so God has to do that. So I think we're at 2 Corinthians chapter 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, we got about 5 minutes. Just look at verse 13, a little bit 13 to 15. It says this: if we are beside ourselves, it is for God. So he's simply saying, if you think I'm doing too much, it's because God been doing so much in my life. I'm so happy in him. Because he's talking about people are saying like, man, y'all over the top about this God thing, man. He said, listen, if I'm beside, listen to how he uses the word. He says, besides myself here. What does your version say, Sister Ruth?
If it seems like we're crazy.
That's what it says.
Right? What your version say? On verse 13.
For whether we be beside ourselves.
Okay, so yours say besides ourselves. Sean, yours say anything different?
I mean,
Okay. Lisa?
Mine says
Same thing.
Yeah.
So besides ourselves, if you think I'm crazy, look at what he says. He said the reason why that's happening, it is for God, or it is because of God.
Yeah.
It is because God done got so real and vivid, man, that I can't help. I'm acting unnormal because I'm engaged with something that ain't from down here.
Right.
These ain't natural circumstances that got me feeling like I'm feeling. Like, I feel like I can overcome anything. And listen to this, like, I feel like I'm powerful, like I feel like I can't be stopped. And that's how he said it. He said that he told me, no matter what I face, I would not be able to be defeated. That he gonna fight my battles for me. Like, this thing, that's a locker room speech. Let's go play. Like, let's go do it then. If that's true, let's go into the battle with that feeling in our heart. So he says, it's because of God. Then he says, listen, finishing that, it says, and if we are in our right mind, it is for you. And what your version say there, Sister Ruthie?
And if we are in our right minds, it's for your benefit.
It's for your benefit. So basically, if you recognize that what seems crazy to some people is actually how I should be, if God is who he is, God is making me do this in front of you so that you would get closer, right? So that you would get a witness. Like, so if you think I'm crazy, it's just because you don't know how good God is.
Right.
But if you think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, it's because you must know. God is trying to remind you that this is how we should look. So it's kind of like, get up out that pity party, man. Get up out of that sadness, that gloom and doom. Remember we said last week, man, put your party clothes on. Put your happy clothes on, because listen, man, we got every reason to stay in confidence. And what I'm trying not to say is where I always got to be happy. It ain't just happiness where I'm laughing and everything, but it's kind of like I have every reason that this confidence makes me stable.
Yeah.
That my situations don't make, because your situation can make your day go bad. Just like, man, because I'm in this, I'm gonna feel with my situation. We said it in here before, like sometimes when it start raining outside, it start raining inside. I feel gloomy, I feel like lazy, but God, like, man, don't let that dictate.
Consistency.
It's that stability, consistency. I don't have to be changing with every wind of my life. I'm above my situation, on top of it in Christ. And so now I'm like, let him dictate in here, because eventually all of this, man, because maybe I should be right here for a second. I need to go through some stuff that I went through, because now you're going to bear a testimony to somebody else later, and I'm going to get more experiences with him as I deal with these challenges.
I like you said that, Larry, stability and consistency, because consistency will bring stability. And so that's what I'm learning as I've been a part of Oakland City Church, and just letting the Lord consistently talk to me, even though I don't want to hear that stuff sometimes, but my obedience, my faith, permits me to, or keeps me, and then in my circumstances, situations keep me needing, and I guess that's part of the journey too. But consistency, just consistently like calling into remembrance and then of the things that God has done, and things that God is doing, and the things that God will do, right? It doesn't take away the things, but I see evidence.
Yeah.
I see the evidence, and then like I know it's not gonna be overnight for me, because I know my journey. I know the things that God has brought me through, and I know where I was at without God. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's a process, but just to be on that journey and just to stay consistent with it, I can see that the promise of God is for me to have a stable, consistent faith and walk with Him. And so, I think that's what Jesus is teaching me. You know,
And
that's
all of us.
and all of us.
Faith is paramount. He wants trust. He wants us to believe him, right? And what it looks like is that we keep walking. It's raining. It's hot. It's cold. Like the seasons change, but I'm still on my journey. Like that's what he wants. He like rain through the snow. Like nothing stops me, man. Good days, bad days. I got money. I don't got money. Bills is paid. I don't know how I'm gonna pay that bill, but he like just keep walking because your life ain't a sum total of all that. Like you gonna make it through that, and you made it through it before. So don't trip out right now. Don't spaz out like just because this happened. Like man, you've been in situations like this because he said, listen, I never guaranteed that you was gonna have easy street. I guaranteed I'm gonna be with you. So now take courage that I'm walking with you, and let's go do what I really want to do today. I don't want to spend time thinking about that all day. I want to go do some other stuff. This. You can get yourself out of that, and let's go make some people happy with me today. So what you got to do is don't bring this with you. Don't put this in your pocket so you can worry about it while we're going. No, take that out. Listen, cast all of your cares upon me, because I care for you now. Once that's out of your hands, now come on. Let's go do this thing.
Amen.
What do you think that it's? I kind of feel like God always teaches me things, but so lately, not really lately. So since I've been working with my client, it's been about a year. The wife actually came to church with me on Sunday. So that was kind of like a big, step. And it was just crazy how that worked out, because it was just, a couple weeks ago, like, oh, I want to invite you to church on Sunday. And she was just like, well, I was just waiting for an invite. I'm like, oh, so that kind of right. But it seems like I've been coming in contact with not coming in contact, but having a bunch of different conversations with her, my sister, just a couple people as far as career. But I've always kind of struggled with career ever since I moved from LA out here, because I feel like me coming out here was me following my purpose, me following the calling of God, meaning it's not my will, Lord, as far as career-wise, what I'm doing, it's whatever you have for me to do. But just recently, it just seems like, a bunch of, Ruthie, you should, do this or you should do that. And like lately, I've kind of been like not really saying, like my normal response will be, well, I'm just following God. Like whatever you have for me to do, I'ma do. Lately, it's kind of been like, I haven't really been saying that. I'll just say like, okay, like I'll just check it out. But kind of just so that they can shut up about it a little bit. But I guess my question is, do you think that's the enemy, or do you think that that's maybe like God trying to, I guess?
Yeah. So there's moments, and I think I'll go back to that image we started with. There's moments when things get fuzzy and God starts doing this with the knobs to clarify the picture. And so there are seasons when God is pushing us into growth, new possibilities, and what he'll do is he'll keep circling the block with that conversation. Like, so here, for example, I was fighting within myself when the YMCA thing was kind of going through its process. Josh had been talking to me like 3 or 4 months before the summer ever came. Like we were still in the year doing what we was doing, we was running. And he was like, man, I want to start this church, man. I feel like I need to have 2 pastors that look like open, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, that sounds good, but, so I was kind of like, I kind of felt like I told him it ain't me. Like, I'm good. And I ain't finna do it, but like I'll come, I love the vision, the gospel, but I'm not that dude. And so I feel like God was like, okay, okay, you not, huh? And then God went to creating circumstances, and I just remember in the summertime, this was before again, the collapse of stuff started happening. I was in Utah at a YMCA convention, like a big convention, and I'm out there talking about Dare to Dream stuff and writing career, like all of these plans, like people was like getting in my car, like, man, we need to start doing some of that at our YMCA, and it was just like, man, I'm about to blow up right now. Like, I'm doing stuff that people want to do, and now they ready to fly me out here to talk to their staff and all of that. But while I'm out there in Utah, I remember two things distinctly. One was my rental car had the license plate, the Utah symbol is Life Elevated, right? You know, they got mountains and all that in Utah. And so I was putting my stuff in the trunk, finna go into the car, and I just saw that. And then just like, and I felt like with all that's happening, I'm about to elevate right now. Like it just spoke to me like I'm about to okay, right? And so even though I took it one way, God meant it, but it's a whole nother thing. And so me and Josh had a conversation while I was out there. I was at the mall chilling, just walking around enjoying the weather out there. And he was in Australia. And we were talking about kind of the Trayvon Martin thing that had happened. In the case, no, it was Oscar Grant. It was actually, it was in Oakland. And so we was hearing about, tearing up Oakland downtown. It was chaos. And he was like, kind of like, man, what you think about that? And then Zimmerman got off and all that. And I'm like, man, like that was a tough situation that happened. I wasn't there, but at the end of the day, I'm not on the side of yelling at this dude get what he deserved, only because I don't want what I deserve. Right? Like if God gave me what I deserve, it ain't bad news. So I'm not clamoring for that. I actually do. I said, I want that cat to get saved. Even if he got to go to jail to do it, I don't even know. But if he get to know who God is, he'll have a different remorse for what happened and all of that. And it was in that conversation and actually in that moment that it was kind of like, man, the vision we've been talking about for this church of these two opposing odds of a white man, a black young man, and the chaos and like this brokenness. Like God is saying, this is the kind of church that I want to be able to step in and be a witness that it ain't got to be like that. Yeah. And it was like, it flashed, and I felt like maybe, but then I was like, no, I'm gonna let's watch it. It's about to blow up. Then I get back, and I start seeing and I just seen God was like, Josh started the conversation, but God said, I'm gonna finish it. And a couple months later, I just saw like, man, God is telling me like, get on out. And so I just think when you look at the question you asked, is sometimes it's not the season. No, I ain't moving. This is what I'm doing. This is it right here. And then God leave it alone because it's like somebody maybe trying to get me out of position. But then when God keeps circling the block, it's kind of like it's something to that. Now you still don't know what it's going to look like, but it's kind of a notice to say, all right, well, maybe I need to be praying about God. What doors are you opening? Maybe I do need to knock on some doors and check, because you might be trying to elevate me to something new or put me in a different position or place. And so now I got to be open, because remember, he stands up in our life and he said, okay, I'm tired of that pen. Get that pen.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Move that over here now. Right. Okay, I want to rearrange some stuff.
Too comfortable.
Yeah,
too comfortable.
Right, and so I got to take notice, and I think that's why it's so important that we get to know him. Because I start reading I start reading the signs. I start picking up on the clues as he's talking. Because remember what it is, it's his voice. Right. But no, it's people saying it. But I feel an internal battle every time they say it. So it's more than just them saying, like, there's something going on with this. Like, I can't just, like, why I feel like that when they say, why I feel like I gotta fight them off, right? Like, why I feel like I gotta, it's something, maybe God is pushing on that because it keep coming back. And so I just think this is what he said, my sheep know my voice. And then when they hear me say it, they'll follow me. And even though I ain't told them, Abraham, pack your stuff. We're going to a land I'll show you when we get there. That's crazy. To come into my comfort zone. I've grown up here all my life, and for you to show up and tell me to get all my belongings and let's take a walk, and I don't even give you the destination address. I really give you the invitation for a journey. Come with me, and I'll show you when we get there. Like, that's the journey with God, which is why I get to know him it's so key, because that forms the basis for my confidence into this journey, which feels like no man's land. It's almost like I'm hanging on by just a thread, right? I'm hanging on just a word. I'm hanging on a promise that it feels like it's not secure, right? It feels like it ain't gonna pan out, like, because I'm in crazy crazy spots, and all I'm hanging on to is what he promised he would do and what his agenda was for me. And I gotta go through life navigating, holding on to mere words. But that's why relationship gotta get so close, so that these words are loud in my soul. These words speak to me in my moments of fear and doubt. Here's what the psalmist said in Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because thou art with me. He said, I know this. I got confidence that this is true. So listen, the valley of the shadow of death don't scare me. It don't make me turn around. I keep walking. We'll close with your point.
Okay, all right. Now I was just like thinking about what you were saying as we walk through this no man's land in this crazy world. But when we walk with the confidence and the understanding that all this craziness and all this madness that we go through as a believer, it's really an opportunity. It's really an opportunity to shine a light, to show, like you said, just people need to see God, and so that's a greater purpose than yourself. To be able to give somebody God and show God, and so yeah, we do have to stay in the Word so that we can have the confidence that we can give that, right?
That's big. So our confidence, going public with our confidence in God is big. Think about this. And my confidence at moments is a trembling confidence. Like, I'm not sure, but I'm sure. I think I'm gonna make it. I know I'm gonna make it, right? Like, it's this, at the same tension, at the human level, I'm facing stuff but I'm holding on to a promise. And so as I go public and tell people that, man, I ain't sure how this is gonna turn out, but I know God got me, right? Like, that statement is not, oh, I'm super Christian. That statement is, I'm a person wandering through life, and I'm just holding on to a promise, and I don't even know how it's gonna turn out. So God says, now, I'm gonna stick a pin in that for them, and then 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years up the road, the manifestation gonna happen, and I'm gonna bring that back to, and then they're gonna be like, man, you did, that's what you was talking about, man, the Lord did that, like, wow. So God he's never wasting anything. Chance meetings, encounters, moments when you get to encourage people, when people encourage you, like, all of that is, listen, it's part of his story. He's still writing the Bible. Like, he like, with us, like, it ain't gonna get recorded in a book, but he is doing the same thing he did with these cats with us. Building a story and a track record and witnessing to a world that does not know him through people who found out that he's real. People who are taking a journey now and going into this world with a sense that, listen to this, everything ain't all right, but everything is all right. Yeah. It's crazy out here, man. It's so calm and peaceful out here. Like, this is the context. Like, I got issues, but I got God. I got uncertainties, but I got certainty. Like, I don't know, but I know. Like, that's the Christian walk. I'm walking by faith. And God, what God does is, as I take that posture, he begins to let what I believe touch earth, and it manifests. And so what I'm talking, I ain't crazy, because I know what I heard, and don't you see that? So it's evidence. He gives witness to it. What that does is it builds my confidence. It builds my public statement. I will tell you what I'm about right now. I tell you what I believe, even though it looked like I shouldn't talk loud because my life don't look right now. But I know he never wastes anything. Let's close in prayer. Father, we thank you. We thank you for the journey of faith. The journey of faith is, it's complex, but it's simple. It is complex because there's so many twists, turns, nooks, and crannies. There's so many layers to our own even individual stories and pieces and fragments and hurts and pains and aches and questions and wonderings, and what you've done in a single moment as you break into our story is you begin to become the answer to all of our dilemmas. But though you are the answer in that immediate moment, it's going to take our whole lives for you to unravel the hurt, the pain, for you to continue to apply the medicine which you are to all of our aches and concerns, to where we will go through life forgetting but being reminded. We'll forget that you are with us, but you'll do something to remind us you never left us.
Yeah.
And in that moment, we continue to get brought closer in an intimate way of knowing you. And you said that was your main purpose, that we would be brought first in relationship with you, and that you would come to walk us from where we are to get safely home. And so you will never leave us. You're not in a rush. You're not in this quick fix program to like throw our lives up in an instant to where we become something. But you digging deep roots first. Like the plants, before they come up on the top, they go deep down into the ground and get connected first. They get attached to stuff so that when the winds of life come, that the tree won't blow over because the roots is so deep down in the ground. And so much of your work we don't even see initially. You're doing stuff in secret ways and hidden ways and subtle ways, and you're downloading stuff in our hearts that we don't even know why all of that has been said to us or what that was about. But as we keep walking, you'll begin to unfold and open up and explain, so that, as Sean said, we would have an understanding. And that understanding would give us a confidence. And that confidence would give us an outlook on life that is a fix. We become consistent in our belief. We don't change with the winds of life. We don't believe you one day and don't believe you the next day. But we get consistent that no matter what our lives look like in an external way, our hearts are grounded and fixed upon the reality that the God who created everything has stooped so low to pay attention to our individual story, and that he is actually walking with us to bring us to the other side. Father, keep speaking, keep talking, keep giving us these personal moments that helps us to know that you are with us, and keep helping us to be bold about sharing you with others. Help us even think about who in our circle right now might just be waiting on us to say something to them. As Sister Ruthie experienced, just waiting on the invitation. They've been seeing, they've been even wondering, they've been even asking internal questions, and now may be the moment for us to connect with them. Help us to get out of our own heads and our own story, so that we can think about who's around us, who needs to know, who's hurt, who's in a tough spot where the medicine of the reality of God is the only hope that they can get in this moment. God, help us to be those who bring you to this world in fresh ways. We thank you, and we give you praise and glory. It's in Jesus' name we pray.